We're back right here on the Weekend Show, and I hope you're enjoying the program so far. Right now it's time to get to our guests that we have for you this evening on the program. We have with us Mr Manaf AlHajri, who is the Deputy Director of Investments at the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development. Mr Manaf AlHajri, we'd like to welcome you to our program.
Thank you, Tarek. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we'd also like to congratulate you and, of course, the staff and everyone working at the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development on the anniversary now of 42 years since the establishment.
Thank you very much. On this occasion, I'd also like to extend my congratulations to you and the viewers of this program for the new year.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we'd like to start out with the questions that we have for you this evening. Of course, the Kuwait Fund is celebrating 42 years of success since establishment in 1961. Could you give our viewers an overview from the start in 1961, or I even think a bit earlier till now, if you don't mind, please?
Yeah. The idea behind the creation of the Kuwait Fund goes back to the late 1950s, when His Highness the Emir Sheikh Jabir al-Sabah, who was at the time the Minister of Finance, saw the need to engage the new wealth of the state of Kuwait in the international efforts to combat poverty. Now, many people give the state of Kuwait the credit for having foreseen so early on the need to take part in combating poverty and helping developing countries, especially if you take into account that the donor community and in the international arena was not as developed as it is nowadays. It was very foresightful at the time to see this need, and from that the Kuwait Fund was established on the last day of 1961. I also would like to mention that with the creation of the Kuwait Fund, the state of Kuwait paved the way to other countries in the region to take part in helping developing countries, and a number of both bilateral and multilateral institutions were created. I can mention, for example, the Saudi Fund, the Abu Dhabi Fund, and the Islamic Development Fund in the region.
So basically the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development has taken a leading role, and we could say a pioneering role in this effort.
That is very true, and many people give the state of Kuwait so much credit and prestige for having foreseen that need from the early 1960s.
And it's also a very nice gesture by Kuwait, and also very humanitarian.
That's very true. You know, until this day, Kuwait Fund has extended more than 640 loans, which are very flexible in their lending terms. The interest rates that are charged are quite reduced compared to commercial lending. The grace period are extended, and the repayment periods are very flexible. This is very much in favor of the developing countries, and interprets the need and the understanding of the Kuwaiti government to take part in the needs of the developing countries and third world countries.
Mr. Manaf, maybe now you could give our viewers a little bit about the prime objective of the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development, just the main objective of it.
You know, it's very hard, Tarek, to encapsulate all what Kuwait Fund does under one single heading. But the Kuwait Fund has always been mindful in providing the right kind of help at the right time. When it was first established, the loans that and the other types of financing that went out of the Kuwait Fund went to newly independent countries that were very much in need of infrastructure projects. So the type of financing that went out that time went to infrastructure projects and industrialized projects, physical projects. With time, there was an increasing awareness over the 1970s of the humanitarian aspect of development. So more emphasis was given at the time to promoting the managerial skills and the promotion of technology transfer to the developing countries. In the 1980s, there was an increasing awareness of the need to privatize many state institutions, not only in developing countries, but in the developed world as well.
Okay.
Kuwait Fund was part of this initiative as well, and made sure that the uh, private sector in the recipient countries grows as much as the state sector as well. Now that we are at the beginning of the 21st century,
Mhm.
more importance is also given to the environmental issues as well as the human part of the equation. So more projects are being geared now to social projects as well as educational projects.
Okay. Now, in terms, I believe also, Mr. Manaf, that the financing for the Kuwait Fund has changed as the years have went by. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
That's very true. When the Kuwait Fund was first created in 1961, it was established with a capital of 50 million Kuwaiti dinar,
Hmm.
and the financing was restricted to Arab countries. With time and with more Arab countries going independent, the need was apparent to increase the financial resources of
Okay.
the Kuwait Fund, and the financing was provided by the state of Kuwait. This went on until 1974, when the Kuwait Fund opened itself up to the world. And as I just mentioned, Kuwait Fund is taking part in the financing of projects in some 100 countries so
Hmm.
far. The From its creation until this day, the it's also worthwhile to mention that the Kuwait funds from the state of Kuwait in mid 1990s,
Okay.
and it has now the financial resources to cover all its financing needs in the developing countries autonomously.
Well, that's great to hear. That's also a positive step for the Kuwait Fund.
That's right. And in fact, I would like to mention, as we'll probably mention this
Sure.
later on, Kuwait Fund is also taking part in financing some activities within the state of Kuwait.
And we'll elaborate a little bit more on that a bit later on in our interview. But now we'd like to talk a little bit, Mr. Manaf, about you touched on some of the activities of the Kuwait Fund a bit earlier in our interview, but could you go into some more details about some of the various activities of the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development? Tell us some of those main activities.
Okay, the main mechanism of financing of the Kuwait Fund is, as I just mentioned, the provision of soft lending.
Hmm.
But the Kuwait Fund has also what is called the grants, which
Hmm.
is smaller amounts of funding that goes to financing feasibility studies that make sure that the projects that are going to be implemented by the Kuwait Fund are going to be implemented on sound technical grounds.
Hmm.
Other grants go also to the transfer of technology as well, and to the promotion of managerial skills
Hmm.
and technology literacy, if you like.
Okay. Go ahead. You had something to
Yeah,
add?
I just wanted to mention a couple of examples
Sure.
about the type of things that the Kuwait Fund
Some maybe
does.
specific projects?
Sure.
Go ahead.
I have in front of me the gas pipeline that was financed in Egypt, and that was meant to be a means of integration of
Mhm.
with other countries in the region like Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria. Another project is Kuwait Fund financing in the diversion of the Litani to the south of Lebanon.
Okay.
A very infamous example also is Kuwait Fund efforts in eradicating the river blindness disease in West African countries like Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Burkina
Yes, there was
Faso.
a lot of coverage on that.
Absolutely. The Kuwait Fund was very much praised for this project. You know, around 100 of people had to flee very fertile areas in these countries because of the spread of what is called the black fly. And the Kuwait Fund collaborated with other donors, both bilateral and multilateral, to
Okay.
eradicate the disease and help people go back to their homes.
Okay, so they should be commended on that also, to
Absolutely.
cleaning up the water and making it safe for the people in that area. And now, of course, the geographical reach of the Kuwait Fund is quite wide and quite varied also, I believe.
Again, this was a very interesting a progression, if you like. When, as I just mentioned, until 1974, the Kuwait Fund was confined to Arabic countries, and then it opened itself up to other countries of the world. Now, Kuwait Fund is getting a lot of praise for that as well. If you take into account that this coincided with the time where oil prices went up, and many people thought that it was very thoughtful of the state of Kuwait to be thinking and sharing the new riches with other developing countries by financing their projects.
Mr. Manaf, they're also involved in over 100 countries, and as you said also, and it's now not been restricted just to Arab countries. I believe it's even widened to expand to almost all the world. Is that correct?
That's very true. Kuwait Fund is almost existent in all continents of the world, and every couple of years you might see a new name in our list of recipients. After the end of Cold War in the 1990s, Kuwait Fund started to take part, for example, in the financing of projects in the former Soviet states. Of the new countries that we are active in, relatively new, are Latin American countries and South American countries as well.
Okay, so the expansion is going all around the world then.
That's very right, and I would like to add that Kuwait Fund has been very timely and speedy in its participation. One famous example on that is Kuwait Fund's participation in the reconstruction of Lebanon after the end of the Civil War. Kuwait Fund was in fact the first agency to take part in the reconstruction of Lebanon. Kuwait Fund was also very timely in taking part in disaster relief in places where civil wars, earthquakes, and diseases take place.
So maybe the name now should be changed to the Kuwait Fund for Arab and International Economic Development.
You know, some people might think that the word Arab in the title of the Kuwait Fund is a misnomer, but it was really put to emphasize the Arab identity of the Kuwait Fund.
The main emphasis.
That's very right.
Okay. Also, Kuwait Fund's efforts in the debt relief is also quite commendable also.
Sure.
You could tell us a little bit about that, also the debt relief and some of their efforts in helping out in that subject also.
Yeah. Kuwait Fund, it's only very normal to be thinking that poor countries do have problems from time to time. And everybody knows that a number of sub-Saharan countries in Africa have high external debt level and high poverty levels as well. So Kuwait Fund is very mindful of this fact, and it's doing what it can within its guidelines to help these countries meet their obligations. One very famous effort that was launched by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund is the so-called HIPIC, which is an acronym for the highly indebted countries.
Okay.
Within this initiative, Kuwait Fund is taking part within a number of other donor institutions to help these countries meet their obligations.
Okay. And that would lead us to our next question. I believe the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development has many collaborations with many other donor, let's say, banks, as you would say. That's quite true, isn't it?
Yes. Kuwait Fund is acting very harmoniously, in fact, with a number of donors, both on the international level and the regional level. On the international level, there is, of course, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the European Community, and other European multilateral bodies, i.e., donor institutions that belong to single countries. On the regional level, there is the Islamic Development Bank, there is the Abu Dhabi Fund, there is the Saudi Fund, there is the Arab Fund for Social Economic Development. So Kuwait is acting within a framework of a donor community, in fact.
Okay, that's great to hear. And also there's something special too for our viewers who may want to know more about the Kuwait Fund. I believe there's a book entitled Friends in Need, a book dealing with, let's say, talking about some of the main objectives and places that have been involved in, that the Kuwait Fund has been involved in. Could you tell us more about this book?
Yeah, I would recommend reading this book to those who are really interested in the type of things that the Kuwait Fund does to developing countries. It's written in a nice way that is addressed to both students, scholars, laymen, and anybody who can be interested in this topic. Friends in Need discusses what the Kuwait Fund did from its very beginning, both on the macro level and the micro level. And it also discusses the humanitarian and the kind of things the Kuwait Fund did and the type of impacts on all sorts of levels that have been accomplished in the recipient countries. It's a book. It's a book that was authored by Michael McKinnon, who's a very high-profile figure and an Emmy Award winner.
Okay, that's Friends in Need. That is a book that the viewers could find out about.
Sure, and they can always find it in the library of the Kuwait Fund, which is, by the way, a very extensive database and a very thoughtful place for scholars and other students who might be interested in knowing more about the Kuwait Fund and developing countries.
Mr. Manaf, there's also a website, I believe, also dealing with the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development. Could you please tell us about that website also?
Yeah, the Kuwait Fund website is www.kuwait-fund.org. It gives you access to the Kuwait Fund database and provides information regarding the statistics and the type of things the Kuwait Fund and other donors do in developing countries.
Okay, so it also gives you some information. There it is on the screen right there. We just saw it. And it gives you a lot of information dealing with the Kuwait Fund and the activities, and keeps you updated on what's going on in the various countries, I believe.
That's right.
Okay, so that's also a good thing for the scholars or anyone that'd like to do research on that topic. They could find it at the website.
That's right.
Okay, so there's so many great things, of course, celebrating 42 years of success since establishment in 1961. A lot of great activities, so many accomplishments in over 100 countries, and not just Arab countries, countries all around the world. So many great activities. It's our pleasure to have you here. And at the end of this interview, Mr. Manaf AlHajri, do you have any last words or comments or things that you'd like to close with our viewers this evening?
I would like to add a couple of points, in fact, if you allow me. The activities of the Kuwait Fund within the state of Kuwait. Kuwait Fund was very mindful of the need to direct part of its activities in the state of Kuwait. One of the main beneficiaries of the Kuwait Fund is the private sector. And what I mean by this are companies and consultants who can produce goods or services of Kuwaiti origin. Now the Kuwait Fund while the Kuwait Fund does not oblige recipient countries in its receiving financing from the Kuwait Fund to buy these goods, they are very much encouraged. So Kuwait Fund takes some credit, I believe, in having promoted a number of Kuwaiti companies to the most remote places in the world. Another area where Kuwait Fund was quite active is the housing sector in Kuwait. Kuwait Fund has committed since the beginning of last year and over 5 years the equivalent of 500 million Kuwaiti dinars to finance the saving and loan bank to help it meet its individual loans that are being taken by Kuwaiti young families. Last but not least is the education initiative that is going to be launched again in Kuwait around the month of May this year, and that is going to train Kuwaiti engineers, newly graduated Kuwaiti engineers, I believe 40 of them, and in collaboration with a number of prestigious institutions that are very famous internationally as well.
So also a lot of great things going on in Kuwait then.
Yes, that's right. And if I'm to end this discussion with anything, I'd like to emphasize the leadership that the state of Kuwait has placed when it's created the Kuwait Fund very early on, at the time where the donor community was not as developed as it is, and we are facing the 21st century with as much enthusiasm as our predecessors had in the 1960s to take part in the combat against poverty.
Inshallah, that's what we hope for, more progress in the future. And we'd like to thank you very much, Mr. Manaf AlHajri, the Deputy Director of Investments at the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development, for joining us this evening. And we congratulate you and all the staff working there. I'm all dedicated people working very hard, and establishment, the 42 years of success since establishment in 1961. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure meeting you.
It's our pleasure for having you. And right now we're going to take a short break right here with some little footage here from the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development, and then I'll be back with you. So let's take a look at that right now.
Along the fertile river valleys of West Africa, 1 million people were plagued by river blindness disease. People starved as farmland stood idle. The Kuwait Fund joined a 20-year program to eradicate the disease. Today, people have returned to their farms and are rebuilding their lives. The Kuwait Fund, helping people help themselves.
We're back right here on the weekend show, and looked like that was the slogan of the Kuwait Fund, helping people help themselves, and that's what their main objectives are, and they're working very hard, and as Mr. Manaf was saying earlier, in over 100 countries all around the world, and we wish them all the best and continued success in the future. But right now we are going to move on to